Coming up on Naperville News 17, we remember the Pratt shooting from 1 year ago. A recommendation for repair is made for Moser Tower, and the studio at North Central's Wonk gets dialed up. Hello everyone, I'm Kim Pierce. Thanks for joining us for this week's Naperville News. It was 1 year ago when the city of Aurora made national headlines after the shooting at the Henry Pratt Company. Naperville News 17's Christian Kenazal shares the stories of two of the officers who were there.
Aurora 911, where's your emergency?
Henry Pratt, 641 Archer. You got a gunman.
The tragic phone call came a year ago. 5 lives were lost during the Henry Pratt shooting in Aurora, Illinois, while also leaving 5 Aurora police officers injured. One of those officers was Marco Gomez, who was just blocks away from the Henry Pratt building when the shooting began. Gomez, along with other officers, started running towards the building when he was shot in the back of the thigh.
Just ran. I figured I couldn't sit there, I couldn't drop, so whether it was the adrenaline or whatever, you just kept going, and I headed towards the dock area, and tell everybody I did my best impression of Javi Baez, did a nice slide.
While Gomez assessed his wound, Officer John Cebulski, the first officer at the scene, was inside the building looking for the gunman. Cebulski was on the second floor of the building when he saw the gunman coming up the stairs out of the corner of his eye.
He was going up the first stairs, so I turned and yelled at him, my gun pointed towards him, Aurora police. And before I could say the word Aurora, he started firing at us, and the first shot hit me in the knee.
Cebulski, like Gomez, found himself injured. The two were eventually transported to the hospital. In the midst of drifting in and out of consciousness, both officers fought for the chance to see their loved ones once again.
There's something about saying, "Hey, I'm gonna see them one more time." You make peace with the man upstairs, and you said, "If you're gonna take me, take me." But I'm gonna fight until I get to see my family one more time.
That night was senior night for my son, who plays basketball at that time for Aurora Central Catholic High School. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's 1:30 now. The game's not until 7. How am I gonna be able to get done with this and then walk out with them?
Gomez got to see his family again, and Cebulski made it to his son's senior game after it was moved to a week later as a result of the shooting. It's efforts like theirs and every other helpful hand that day that prevented the unfortunate incident from becoming even more devastating. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Kenazal.
4 of the 5 officers who were injured during the Pratt shooting are now back to full-time duties. Officer Gomez was cleared to return to work exactly 1 year to the date after the shooting, and Cebulski is eyeing a comeback later this year. The Naperville Police Department assisted in the Henry Pratt shooting and were able to learn some important lessons they've since implemented within their force. When the shooting occurred, NPD sent 20 special response officers along with an armored rescue vehicle called the Bearcat. The vehicle is 16 years old and belongs to the state of Illinois. So if an emergency situation were to happen in another city, it would be sent there.
So we put it in our budget for 2020, and at last Tuesday's council meeting, in fact, the city council did unanimously approve the Bearcat for the Naperville Police Department.
The department also placed ballistic shields in every one of their squad cars and rifle ballistic shields in the commander cars. An issue during the Pratt shooting was communication between emergency personnel, which is why the NPD looked into a radio system that allows them to communicate with each response team.
We're on the Harris radio system. Other police departments may have something else, such as Motorola. How do you coordinate communications? So we've been able to program our radios with Starcom, which allows us to talk to the other police organizations.
Naperville emergency personnel who assisted with the Pratt shooting were given the option to meet one-on-one with a counselor to help them with any mental health distress from the incident. The Pratt shooting struck a personal chord for an Aurora man who has spent over 20 years building tributes for gun violence victims. We return to Christian Kenazal to hear his story.
After creating more than 27,000 crosses for those who lost their lives due to gun violence, Greg Zanis is moving on. The Aurora native now finds himself sorting through thank you letters from victims' families and those who survived a horrific ordeal.
I literally have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these.
What do these cards mean to you?
It's my paycheck. You know, when I get cards like this, we have one thing we look forward to, that's going out to the mail every day.
A flag in Xana's home, with United We Are Strong written in the middle of it, lists some of the cities he's placed his crosses in.
El Paso, Virginia Beach was a shooting last year. Aurora, Illinois, my city.
Last year, the Henry Pratt Company in Aurora, Illinois, was the site of a mass shooting. The incident injured 5 officers and took 5 innocent lives.
I just didn't see that coming. You know, I just felt so hurt that it's happening in my own town. You know, oh my God.
Xanis, like he's done for so many other communities, created crosses for the victims. He made 10 in total, 5 for the lives that were lost, and 5 for the 5 officers who were injured. The city of Aurora is honoring the 5 lives that were lost last year during the Pratt shooting. Clayton Parks, Vicente Juarez, Russell Byer, Trevor Wayner, and Josh Pinkard all have a home here at the Aurora Historical Society. Still, these crosses were too close to home for Xanis.
Like, I go to these other cities, I come back, I'm back comfortable in my own town. It was really the day I decided I'm going to quit the ministry.
Xanis' Crosses for Losses mission will now go to Lutheran Church Charities of Northbrook. With over 20 years of creating crosses all over the country, Xanis, who does it all for free, said at one point he was more than $250,000 in debt.
And as of this morning, I'm $8,500 in debt. So I've been whittling that down slowly. But a few months before that, I was really $19,000 in debt.
But building is in Xanis' bones. Once out of debt, he hopes to restore this 1927 Cadillac.
I'm dying to do something. God gave everybody everything that he gave everybody else, but one thing he didn't give Greg Xanis is he didn't give me a lazy bone.
For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizal.
And the Pratt Shooting Memorial will be on display through the end of February. After the break, a fresh take on the proposal for 5th Avenue.
We live in a safe community, but not a crime-free community. If you see something, say something. Be a Naperville Crime Stopper.
We tell everybody's stories big and small. Everybody's story matters to us, and it comes in a variety of shapes and sizes, and that's what makes it so special. We don't always need a big story. Sometimes we want a story that makes us laugh. Sometimes we want a story that we relate to. Sometimes we want to cry with that story. But more importantly, we want to hear the stories about our people in the community.
Stay up to date on what's happening in our neighborhoods and schools at City Hall and all across town with NCTV 17 News Update. Emailed directly to your inbox once a day, Monday through Friday, this 2-minute video not only tells you the latest news, but shows it to you.
And that's what's happening right here in Naperville.
And the best part, it's free. So sign up today at nctv17.com/subscribe.
After years of assessing and weighing out options for Moser Tower, Naperville Riverwalk commissioners finally have a recommendation for the structure. Our own Christian Canizal tells us more about their decision.
At the latest Naperville Riverwalk Commission meeting, the group voted in favor recommending to repair Moser Tower. Their recommendation comes after being presented the final report, which included 3 options for the 160-foot tall structure.
Alternative 1, basically to repair it, not enclose it. Alternative number 2 is to enclose it and repair it. And alternative 3 to take it down over time, run the car into the ground, take it down when it hits that point.
Repairing Moser Tower would cost about $2.3 million in total. The second option, which includes repairing it and enclosing the structure, would be about $3 million. Both of these figures include maintenance costs for over 30 years. The last option would be demolishing the roughly 19-year-old structure for $726,000, but the cost could be higher if Moser Tower isn't taken down within a year, as yearly maintenance costs are about $28,000. Ultimately, all commissioners agreed repairing the structure in one phase was the best option.
I think the investment that we're going to make in this, and knowing what we have to invest in addition to what we already have invested every year, was something that I was hoping would be part of the outcome of this, and it was.
The need for action on Moser Tower was first discovered after assessments in 2015 found the structure had steel corrosion and cracks throughout. At that time, estimated cost for repairing it was about $3 million, but that didn't include maintenance costs. Since then, the structure was assessed multiple times, and parts of the building were tested to determine the root cause of Moser Tower's deterioration.
It's an outdoor structure, and parts of it weren't designed to be outdoors, and the cracks in the concrete we figured out were caused by gypsum that had gotten into the grout pockets.
Though that delayed a recommendation to City Council, Riverwalk commissioners said it was better to be sure about final costs before voting.
Appreciative of additional research that the city has done, because that results in a substantial reduction in the delta between option 1 and option 3. It's now, I think, a $600,000 difference over the life of 30 years, which is about $20,000 a year.
Community members and representatives from the Naperville Park District and City Council who were at the Riverwalk meeting also agreed the first alternative was the best option for Moser Tower. The recommendation will now go to City Council for a final vote. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizal.
Novak said he hopes to present the Riverwalk's recommendation to City Council in March. The Naperville Police Department has released their crime statistics for 2019. Chief Robert Marshall and his senior staff shared that the number of major crimes in Naperville, such as murder, rape, and burglary, dropped by 6% from 2018. What has gone up is motor vehicle theft. 73 incidents occurred in 2019 as compared to 68 in 2018. But 93% of those cases occurred in vehicles that were left unlocked.
You continue to see campaigns from us of lock it or lose it, please lock your valuables, because these crimes are absolutely preventable. And we get that folks make mistakes and forget to lock a door or maybe forget a key in their car, but the more vigilant we can be about locking our vehicles, not keeping our keys in our vehicles, we'll be able to prevent these crimes from even happening.
By the same token, 75% of residential burglaries showed no sign of forced entry. The NPD says that in January of this year, they investigated 3 school-related threat incidents. Police say parents need to talk to their kids about the seriousness of any statement, written or spoken, that could be interpreted as threatening. Top arrest offenses for 2019 included warrant arrests, DUIs for alcohol, and driving with a suspended license. Ryan Companies recently released their latest proposal for the 5th Avenue redevelopment project. Naperville News 17's Casey Krzyzewski spoke with decision makers on the issue to get their thoughts.
When Naperville City Council voted down Ryan Company's 5th Avenue baseline concept in October, the future of the development was unclear. Now, Ryan has come back to the table with a new concept addressing council's concerns.
One of the things that we're all concerned about was the general height and density, which came down. The reduction in the units from approximately 400 to 250 was a positive.
The previous concept included a maximum height of 83 feet and 405 total residential units. This concept lowers that max height to 70 feet and drops the number of units to 292. Both concepts include about 70 affordable housing units, though the decrease in total units makes the new concept 24% affordable housing.
And to me, that's a huge win for the city. That's an issue that we have heard loud and clear our city needs to deal with and our residents want us to deal with.
Other issues included safety concerns about having a plaza located next to the train tracks. That plaza has been moved to the corner of 5th Avenue and Washington Street. Though Higgins and Kelly said most of their concerns were addressed in the latest proposal, there is still work to do.
I think a major piece that we still have yet to hear about are the financials. So I think and hope that we're getting close to having a design that a lot of people would be happy with, but we really haven't started that financial conversation yet about who would pay for what and what sort of debt the city might be taking on with a project of this size.
A February 15th meeting is scheduled for Ryan to formally present their concept to the steering committee at 10:30 a.m. in Meeting Room B of the Municipal Center. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
Ryan Company's latest concept is available for the public to view on the city's website. Coming up, healing through music at the DuPage Care Center.
Using NCTV 17 is an opportunity to get the word out of what you do and what you create and the passion that you have. It'll pay for itself 100-fold because it gives back way more than what you put into it, because it tells you, the customer, exactly what you want them to know, and then they can say, oh, I like that, and go, click, I'm going over there and I'm doing business with you. So I'd recommend coming here immediately.
They're really good at showing and communicating. If you have a business that might be hard to understand, or maybe a class that is better visualized than in print, they are the people to do it.
More than anything, just to get the word out to the community, this station is so connected, and it is the one-stop shop for all things local. So NCTV 17 was a no-brainer.
At the latest Indian Prairie School District 204 board meeting, the group approved an intergovernmental agreement proposed with the City of Aurora regarding tax increment financing in the Route 59 corridor. For years, District 204 has faced the issue of TIF districts being proposed in their boundaries. Municipalities propose them as a way to incentivize business in areas that have trouble economically. TIF districts freeze the assessed value of a property for a certain amount of time. The district still collects property taxes from a business, but if the property value goes up, they still pay the original assessed value. The recent agreement calls for economic growth in the Route 59 corridor, while also considering the impact TIF districts have on the school district.
We feel we've addressed that with items like the term of the TIF district, what happens with porting, and when new students come into an area that is subject to TIF, how will that be addressed? We're comfortable it's been addressed in a positive way, collaboratively, that, like I said, is a win-win for both parties.
The agreement calls for limiting the term of a TIF district in the Route 59 corridor to 15 years. It would also reduce the term of the 75th Street Ogden TIF district from 23 to 15 years. The intergovernmental agreement is for 10 years, but 13 years for Fox Valley Mall property. The City of Aurora will discuss the proposed agreement at their February 18th City Council meeting. 1 in 6 women and 1 in 17 men will be stalked at some point in their life. Our own Casey Krajewski was at an event put on by local organizations to learn more about the issue.
Sometimes the word stalking gets used casually when looking at someone's social media pictures. But in reality, stalking is much more sinister.
It's a pattern of behavior that's directed at a specific person that causes a reasonable person to feel fear.
Lyston and several other experts sat on a panel at Benedictine University for an event titled Talking About Stalking. The audience heard presentations on what constitutes stalking, how it has changed with social media, and how stalking can be addressed through the legal system.
A person can seek an order of protection or possibly no stalking contact order, and there are a number of requirements in order to bring forth those petitions. But there are definitely means in which a person who believes that they're being victimized can utilize in the courts in order to obtain certain protections.
For victims of stalking, the most important thing to do is to seek help. Lyson said, along with counseling, Family Shelter Service offers a variety of ways to provide aid.
We can offer legal support regarding filing orders of protection. Within the agency itself, we have our hotline that's 24/7, so that is an opportunity for someone to call in, which they can do anonymously, and they can ask their questions. We can connect them to resources, get them in touch with potentially lawyers or legal aid if that is an option for them.
For Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
Public officials hosted a town hall to go over some of the drawbacks of legalizing recreational cannabis. Members of the public braved the winter weather to attend the event at the 95th Street Library. Naperville City Councilwoman Patty Gustin and Will County Board member Julie Berkowitz organized the town hall ahead of a non-binding citywide referendum on whether cannabis sales should be allowed in Naperville.
It's important to provide information to the public as to what this referendum is about, how it might affect our community, what choices they have with respect to it, and that it's important for them to come out and vote.
The event also featured speakers from the Naperville Police Department, Detective Rich Wostocki, Will County Health Department Executive Director Susan Olenek, and Kids Matter CEO Camila Martinez. They went over the economic and social impacts of legalized recreational cannabis. The referendum will be included on the ballot for the March 17th primary election. Music can be a powerful tool, and for one woman, it's made all the difference. Our own Aisha Ashley Hausa shares her story of healing.
24-year-old Caitlin Course is enjoying the rhythm of the music at her music therapy session. 3 years ago, Caitlin was crossing the street and was struck by a vehicle. The accident caused 2 cardiac arrests that were close in time, which then resulted in the loss of oxygen to her brain. Her hypoxic brain injury left her paralyzed and nonverbal.
We didn't know if we were going to lose her or not. It was very touch and go. We prayed, and we're just so grateful that we still have her in our lives.
To help with her injuries, the DuPage Care Center, where Caitlin has been for 3 years, recommended music therapy.
It's not like a music lesson where we're teaching them or just singing to them for entertainment. It's we create goals and objectives. With Caitlin, our therapeutic goals are sensory stimulation tolerance and improved mood and relaxation.
The DuPage Care Center and the music therapy company Music Speaks have been working together for 4 years thanks to a grant from the DuPage Care Center Foundation. To help meet the therapeutic goals of residents like Caitlin, Pabst uses different instruments like the rain stick to help with visual stimulation and the big drum for vibrotactile stimulation. When Caitlin makes good eye contact, sighs, or smiles, Pabst knows she's enjoying her session. After a year of therapy, Caitlin's mother has already seen a difference.
She's got quite a startle reflex, and she's gotten so much better with that. And that's the way Abby went from, quiet to louder. That's very purposeful so that Caitlin can, accept and tolerate those loud noises. And she's gotten so much better with that. That's been really, really good.
Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Aisha Ashley Hausa.
Virginia said the family enjoys bringing Caitlin home to go to the movies or to grab a bite to eat. Coming up, training the next generation of female wrestlers.
Enjoy the Naperville Municipal Band's summer concert series? Well, now you can follow the band's more than 150-year history in the truly noteworthy documentary The Band Plays On, now available as a podcast.
Brittany's awesome. We have a great opportunity, with someone that's been to the highest level, who's competed at the highest level, who's done it before, and just give girls that avenue. You know, you can do this.
Naperville Central Wrestling Club would like to welcome you to its free girls clinic, hosted at Naperville Central and led by North Central women's wrestling coach Brittany Marshall.
It's definitely taking off, and so that's something that, you know, I feel like it's needed, because, you know, a lot of times you get girls and they want to wrestle, and they often have to compete with the guys, but they want to be competing with the girls.
Marshall is talking about the recent increase in popularity for girls and women's wrestling. In fact, at the college level, North Central has introduced a women's program for the first time for the 2019-2020 season. That has led to more interest trickling down to the high school and junior high levels and felt at the club level.
We've had girls wrestle for years. You know, there's been girl wrestlers forever. And now giving them the opportunity to compete on their own, you know, and give them their own sport has been awesome.
Jake Sanborn is the president of the Naperville Wrestling Club, has been for 2 years. In that time, the club has begun placing a bigger emphasis at getting the message out. Wrestling is for all.
Everyone can wrestle, you know, and I think that there's been in the past the stigma, it's only a boys' sport. But now, you know, just encouraging young girls to get out and try it, and they have different opportunities, and so it's a great time to be involved in sport of wrestling. It's exciting.
Getting to exert your energy out, kind of, and you don't really have to stick to like one move. Like, you don't have to just do one move and then try and go off of that. You can just really do whatever.
Caitlin Bell is 12 years old and has officially been wrestling for a short time, about a year. It was only a short while ago that Marshall got the call in her home state of Texas to move her life to Naperville. North Central head wrestling coach Joe Norton reached out with an offer too good to refuse.
Joe called me and he's like, well, I have this opportunity. You want it? I was like, yeah. I'm very, I jump on opportunities like that. Honestly, I think this is the coolest thing I've ever done. Being a part of something that's bigger than myself, and being a part of girls and young women, their process, and watching them grow and glow all at the same time, and, you know, figure out different things, and just playing a small part in their big adventure. That means no idea.
And while the moment is profound for Marshall, being able to pass on her experience after finishing as a state winner in high school and a national champ in college is the same for the next generation, and that includes Caitlin.
I feel like it's gonna be fun. I feel like, I don't know, because I've never had a girl coach before, so I don't really know.
The opportunity for one Brittany Marshall to influence one young girl to continue the sport of wrestling is an awesome opportunity.
And if you have an idea for a sports story feature, you can let us know at newstips@nctv17.com. And finally, North Central College's radio station recently went on air with a new studio upgrade.
That's new music from Alter Bridge on FM 89.
WONC has been on the airwaves at North Central College for over 60 years, and until recently they were broadcasting their tunes with an analog soundboard.
We had a board in there, a console, a studio console, that was maybe 30 years old, and it was becoming very, very difficult to fix it. We needed something that was current technology. We got a very generous donation from somebody that allowed us the funds to purchase the new console and all the little bits that go with it.
The new soundboard is a top-of-the-line piece of equipment that even some major market radio stations don't have. Now it's easier than ever for listeners to call in and be patched through. The new board takes up less space, and unlike the previous one, every button works properly.
This makes life as a DJ way simpler. Think of upgrading from a used car to a new one straight off the dealership.
To celebrate the upgrade, WONC hosted an open house to show off the studio. And that's what's happening right here in your neighborhood, Naperville. We'll see you next week. Until then, you can catch up on local news by signing up for our NCTV 17 news update delivered right to your inbox Monday through Friday. Sign-up information is right on our website, nctv17.com.
This week's Naperville News 17 is brought to you in part by the following sponsors. This program is partially funded by a grant from the City of Naperville.